Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
What's an example of boundaryless grace or compassion that you've experienced? So recently, I was in charge of Staff Appreciation Week at my kids' school, and it was a pretty monumental task, or maybe I made it out to be bigger than it was supposed to be. But honestly, it's my kids' teachers. I didn't want to halfway do the thing. They deserve the appreciation. And fortunately, I had so many people volunteer to help. But in particular, what meant a lot to me was when other PTA board members who had their own responsibilities and tasks to accomplish took over work for me so I didn't have to do it all. I feel like it would have been easy for them to say, whoa, that's your job, not mine. Like, you do your thing, I'll do my thing, and that's how we get stuff done. But people really stepped in and filled the needs, and that was such a relief for me. This is Jen, by the way, and this is the Bible for Busy People podcast. We are finishing up our study on atrocious math, which was a concept that Frederick Buechner introduced and Philip Yancey expanded on in an article for Christianity Today and in his book, What's So Amazing About Grace, where he kind of teasingly refers to some parables in the Bible and talks about how the math does not math, how, a shepherd would leave 99 sheep behind just to go find one sheep. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Or how a woman would stop everything and clean her whole house and dig through her whole house for a single coin and then invite all of her friends and family over to celebrate because she found said coin, right? Like, that, the math doesn't math. Like, really? Like, just for a coin, you'd have like this whole party. There's so many situations of that. And we've been talking about those concepts in the Bible and how really they point to God's abundant generosity, his abundant, generous grace. It goes beyond our transactional society. And today we're talking about how one person went beyond limits and boundaries set by society in a way that may have been classified as foolish or wasteful just to take care of someone outside of his social circle. We're in Luke 10 today. In verse 25, it says, "On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. 'Teacher,' he asked, 'what must I do to inherit eternal life?' 'What is written in the law?' he replied. 'How do you read it?' He answered, 'Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself.' 'You have answered correctly,' Jesus replied. 'Do this and you will live.' But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, 'And who is my neighbor?' In reply, Jesus said, 'A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. 'Look after him,' he said, 'and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have.' Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." So the priest and the Levite, the most spiritual of the Jews, looked at the man and thought, "That's not my problem. I have bigger things to do. It would be a waste to give my attention to this other person's problem." And to be completely honest with you, sometimes that is my thought. I think, whoa, I can't do that right now. Like, that is outside of my ability. I can't do anything for that. And it's really more of a selfish thing than it is an actual boundary for me. And I want to be clear because we do need boundaries. We have to make decisions in light of who God made us to be and in light of our priorities. But we need not make decisions based on what we get out of it. And we also choose to give out of the generosity of what God has given to us. That is the kind of thinking that can lead us and guide us in situations like this. God's love for us leads us to love each other differently, unexpectedly, in a way that is shocking and undeserved and unexpected. So the Samaritan, who would not have associated with Jews looked down on Samaritans at the time and refused to interact with them. The Samaritan is an example of elaborate, extravagant grace, not only helping, but going the extra mile, fully restoring and not just fixing. Again, the math does not math. Why should we take the time? Why should the expense come from our own pockets? Why consider or have compassion for someone else? Well, my question is, why did Jesus do that for us? Not just die on the cross, but come and live among us and be tempted by the same things we're tempted by, and be limited in the same ways that we are limited, and feel the same things we feel. We were left enslaved by our sin, beaten down by our sin to the point of death, and Jesus came to restore us completely to health at his own expense. We can be led by generosity, not scarcity, because of how generous God is with us. And I'm going to leave you with that today. I wonder what it would look like for you to lead with generosity this weekend instead of leading with scarcity or leading with a fear that we won't have enough. In light of God's generous grace with us, how can you be generous with other people? How can you not let things like a difference in background or life experience or opinion or politics maybe, or money or time hold you back from being giving to a neighbor in need? How different would our world look like if we gave like that? I'm going to be stewing on that one for a while, and I hope you will as well. Thanks for chatting with me about this week. I really enjoyed this conversation and this topic, to really think about some of these things in the Bible that maybe we read and we have read a million times and we forget how astounding it is. We forget how wild it actually is for a sower to go around and scatter seed absolutely everywhere with no caution for where the seed lands. Or the woman who gave 2 copper coins, and Jesus said it was more than anybody else put in, all put together. These are just wild and outlandish stories that remind us of God's abundant love and grace for us. I hope you have a great weekend. I look forward to talking with you next week.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.
Thanks for listening. We just wanted to take a minute to let you know that just like you and your family, Purposely is also part of a family, the Krista family of ministries. Krista helps kids and teens learn and grow in their faith at King Schools and Miracle Ranch Camp. And Krista shares Jesus with people in the poorest, most remote places through World Concern. Krista Senior Living is a community of love and care, and Krista Media is a place of hope on the radio. God is changing lives through these 5 ministries, and Krista is on mission to share the good news of Jesus. To learn more, visit Krista.org.